In the midst of rising tensions and evolving diplomatic landscapes in our region, we're now joined by Brigadier General in the Reserves, Amir Avivi, to wrap up all the latest security updates. Amir, let's start with Lebanese terrorist leader Hassan Nasrallah. His threatening comments come after a series of provocations. Are we potentially on the brink of a conflict?
I don't think we're on the brink of conflict. I think that Nasrallah in his talk didn't show any motivation to go into war. He mentioned a lot the second Lebanese war. From his perspective, of course, he's presenting it as a win. He talked about something interesting. He talked about the change in the doctrine in Israel after 2006 and the huge buildup of air defense and the IDF investing really much more on the defensive side. The way he looks at it is that this diminishes supposedly the ability of the IDF to really operate in an offensive way. So he's building on this change and thinks that maybe the IDF will have difficulty to operate. He mentioned also the tensions with the Christian leadership and community in Lebanon, and threatened not to lead Lebanon into a civil war, as we saw in the past. So we can definitely see that Hezbollah leader is very worried about the tensions inside Lebanon. And in this reality, he can really not afford any war.
Yes, Amir, another thing Nasrallah commented on is the Israeli Haredi draft law. It appears that the internal divisions in Israel are being pretty much exploited by our enemies.
So definitely they see it as a sign of weakness. And this is a strong message to all these reservists who are politicizing the army. This is really endangering Israel. We must keep the army outside of any political discussion. We cannot agree to a reality where reservists involve the army in politics and say they're not going to volunteer or serve in reserve anymore. This needs to change. We see our enemies looking at it, hoping and feeling that we are getting weak. Nasrallah also mentioned the threats Israel made, especially the Ministry of Defense, that said that will bring Lebanon back to the Stone Age. And he said, this is exactly what we can do to you. And he mentioned the missiles project and the ability of Hezbollah to hit precisely airports, whether it's the civilian airport or the military Air Force bases. So this is something that he mentioned specifically. And we must say that the IDF is operating all the time, around the clock, trying to prevent this build-up of capability of missiles, precise missiles, in the hand of Hezbollah.
Of course, Amir. Now, turning to Egyptian President al-Sisi, hosted Jordanian King Abdallah and PA leader Abbas for talks mostly focused on the potential Israeli-Saudi normalization. Are they looking for the Palestinians to be included in the potential deal?
I think that it's the American administration that is really pushing very hard to include the Palestinians. I don't think that on the Saudi side, this is the major issue. Of course, they need to show publicly that they are doing something for the Palestinians. But really, when you talk to the leadership of the Saudi, there is two things that really are in their main focus. One is Iran, and they need American assurances that they will be kept safe from any possible Iranian aggression, and also that the US will be proactive in preventing Iran from becoming nuclear. And the other thing that is not much talked about, but maybe it's even a bigger threat than Iran for Saudi Arabia, this is Sunni radicalism. This is the rise of ISIS again after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's Al-Qaeda and all these groups that might challenge the Saudi regime in the future. And this is something that within time we'll need to talk more about, as their forces are getting stronger again after the Russian withdrawal from Syria and the American withdrawal from Afghanistan.
I assume we'll have a whole separate session about that. Amir, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.